Yeah, it's like AI because I think our professors still have expectations that they had, let's say, 2 to 5 years ago. And when I see my professors and they're telling us all these things about academic honesty, and yes, I agree, but at the same time, we have so much more resources. And in the real world, if I were to get a job after college, I think the reality will be I'm going to be using AI. AI is going to be implemented in a lot of the things that I do at work. And so when we don't teach students to adapt to this new structure of the world, then it complicates things because you have a standard that you want them to be at in order to get a certain grade. But how does that grade translate to real life and practicality as far as the job that they will get?
So and also like how does that work, especially with ChatGPT? Like how school
Well,
work? Like I feel like that's kind of like, I mean, I didn't grow up with ChatGPT in college, but
yeah.
like how does that work? How does the teacher like deal with that?
It makes things easier. Like it
For you
gives
or for
you
the teacher or for the
for
professor?
us, and I think maybe for the teacher, but it's really hard to decipher who's using ChatGPT. But among the students, you can tell. You can tell
You
it
can say.
because, like, if I try to use ChatGPT and I ask them a question and they answer, and then I look at the discussion board and everybody else has that similar answer or amplified answer, I know we all use
You are using
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT.
But yeah, it gives us resources.
Yeah.
It makes things a lot easier, and there are times where professors would give excessive amount of work and reading, and it's like, I don't have time for that. I have work and I have life, and I just don't have time to do that. And so we have the resources to have ChatGPT sort of like summarize those articles and books. And so it makes things a lot easier. But there is also that aspect of it that's dangerous because sometimes if you allow the computer to think for you, then you lose room for critical thinking.
Yeah.
And the last thing we want is to become slaves of our bots. We don't want to be slaves of the very things that we created. And so we have to learn to control ourselves as well as how do I control this thing? How do I know my limit? Because there are times where I would ask, I think I do have experiences with AI. And so I would ask certain questions that I'm concerned about or have just don't have the knowledge for it. And so it would tell me the answers. And so I have to make the decision, do I write down what it's telling me or do I analyze what it's telling me and allow myself to critically think about what are my perspectives on this topic? Because it's giving me the information, but I have to be able to decipher what are my own views and what are just the abstract views of the text. And I think that's really important. And we can really lose that in society, especially when AI is just so big and there is no regulation whatsoever.
Okay, so critical thinking.
Yeah.
That's what you say.
Critical thinking.
Critical thinking. It's important. Very important. I had a professor, and they're big. They were big on like using technology. He was like, "Yeah, hey, listen, it's here to stay, so you gotta use it." And then, so they would give us assignments where it will be about things that will make us go and look for it, right? On Google, AI, all this stuff, right? So the part of critical thinking is like it's gonna be difficult because now you're using something else to be able to help you in order for you to think properly, in order for you to articulate to what you're trying to tell to your professor, right? So I'm like, okay, how do you think about using AI or using what we have right now, the technology that we have, and also be able to think critically. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of complexities with that because we don't know where the line is crossed with that. But I think it goes back to I need to get the information about a specific thing. And once I get that information, then I need to decipher what are my own views. And
yeah, I mean, the part where you go and get information is important because one of my professors used to say, if you can go and look for the information, I'll count that as a grade.
Yeah.
Because you are, you
Yeah.
are going and looking out for the information, but you're not necessarily thinking about the answer,
You're
or
not thinking
like
about it.
try to find the solutions within the problem. You're just copying and pasting it.
Yeah, I know that's the complexity of it, because you have to be able to, but I think it gives us a higher aim.
Yeah.
Because sometimes our professors can ask us the most basic of questions, and if I can have ChatGPT answer that, it gives me like the information, and so it allows for me to go to a higher level of thought. Whereas, okay, this is the answer. Why is that? How do I better understand it and also assess myself? But a lot of times we don't get there, because if like the goal is to get the answer, then why should I go above and beyond that? Why should I critically sort of like think outside of the box?
Also, you cannot go to a high aim if you have not yet meet the basic requirement.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like you can't learn algebra if you have not learned that 1 + 1 = 2 thing. The basic of it.
Yeah.
So it's like ChatGPT will give you the complexity of it, right? They will give you the answer, the complexity, but you don't know how to decipher the complexity within it. It's like when you're doing algebra homework, where the teacher will give you like you put the answer there, and then the teacher will take out like half the point because you didn't show the process.
Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of like in a similar sense.
Yeah.
Like you won't be able to think above the aim that you have not fully walked through.
Yeah.
Walked
It's like that understanding. So we're moving backwards, where we have the solution, and then we go back to see how did you how did you get to that solution?
Yeah.
And that's the intricate part of it.
I mean, I think that can be used to our advantage, right? Do you think that's possible?
It could, but we have to deliberately put that effort in to learn, because a lot of times it's very easy to dismiss and say, well, I have the answer, then I don't need to go back and look through my work and see the process. How did I get here? Actually get the understanding of it. Like, not many people do that, and that's the hard part of it, because you can get the answers and it can help you for your job or school or anything, but you need to have that level of understanding with that answer as well.
And now it's like, now you just have this, I would say, kind of like an existential questions about education in whole, because you're going to fall into that rabbit hole. It's like, okay, what's the need for education? What's all this? Because of how, like, all the informations are in our cell phone. Right? We have all the information that we need in our cell phone. All you got to do is just look it up. Right, the same information that your professor gonna give you is pretty much the same equivalent to what you can get online.
Yeah.
It's like, now it's like, what's the need for it? But then again, it's like, okay, you gotta get the paper and all this stuff. I don't know, like, what's your thoughts on that?
I also think like the real experience is something that you just can't emulate from AI. Like, you can't take that and copy it from AI, because the things that I learn through my professors, given that they're great and they're doing well at their job, then it's so much different from what I will learn from AI. And I think it's the nuances that we don't quite pay attention to, but those nuances that get us to that solution is sort of like the process is just as important as the end.
As the end, yeah.
So I think that like the means to the end is also just as important. And so when you get the solution and you don't have that process, it's kind of hard to be able to navigate yourself when you even have the solution. Because sometimes we think if I have the right answer, then I have the resources, but that's not always the case.
Yeah. Yeah, because like when you have the answers, without the applications of the answers, you won't be able to reach that. You won't be able to reach that goal.
Yeah, and the process teaches you the application.
Yeah, the process is what teaches you the application of it.
Yes.
So you're starting to learn how to process information on a different frequency. So